And hi, this is Paul Gibbons. I'm here to talk to you about the human side of artificial intelligence. This is a teaser trailer for either a one-day workshop or a one-hour keynote. If you opt for the workshop format, we're actually going to answer some of these questions. In the keynote, we're going to point the way and tell you what some of the questions are that you'll need to answer for yourselves. The leadership of AI, powering growth and managing risks. We've heard this called a Netscape moment by IBM CEO. We've heard it by Alphabet CEO called more profound than fire and electricity. Yet if you've been in business as long as I have, you'll remember the dot-com boom. Could things go that way? You'll also remember, of course, the camera industry being completely wiped out by smartphones. So in which direction are we heading with artificial intelligence? Here's something interesting which continues the hype, the AI maturity model. We'll have a conversation about where in this model you might find yourself, but there's one extraordinary thing at the end. If you'll notice that Gartner thinks that 9% of all businesses have artificial intelligence as part of their DNA. I think that's an extraordinary overstatement. I would say, from what I've seen of the market, 90% of businesses are in the first 2 or 3 levels here. We'll talk about maturity models, but we'll also talk about some of my experience when things have gone terribly wrong with technology and adoption. I'll just give you one example. I worked in the derivatives industry in the 80s and the 1990s. And even after the derivatives industry was 10 years old, I would meet bank chairmen, bank CEOs, bank CFOs, even bank risk officers who had no idea what was happening in this black box called derivatives. And of course, then we had 2008, a decade later. These things happen, and your ability to lead in the AI world is going to be strongly dependent on your ability to upscale yourself from the CEO all the way down in the organization. We'll talk about other examples of where things have gone very wrong and see if we can't illuminate some of the paths that you might avoid some of these things. We're going to talk about what a vision, why you would want to have one, what one would look like, and how you develop one. And we're actually in a workshop format. We'll actually go right ahead and create one that can be a draft or a prototype or a straw man for you. You're going to have to think about upscaling. Your ability to deploy AI in a commercially viable way will be strongly dependent on the people's capability of your industry. Sounds obvious, but we often see this ignored. People think tech first, people later. You need to think people first, tech later here. The C-suite, I'd recommend at least a 2-day deep dive into AI education functional heads, at least a day long, exploring, for example, the use cases of AI in their function, for example, marketing. The top 250, I'd also recommend a day-long AI essentials course. And for technologists, maybe much longer, maybe 3 to 5 days, maybe even longer than that to pick up on the essentials of artificial intelligence technology. One of the things that will certainly happen to you as you can contemplate AI is it's going to shine a very bright light on anything in your organization that's not working. Your data infrastructure, cloud, edge computing capability, whether you have AI-specific tools ready to work, your monitoring and governance processes, your change and leadership and culture, and your talent and expertise. Those are all the organizational readiness capabilities that are going to need to be in place for this to work for you. We're also going to talk about the structure of your AI organization. What are the different roles and how should they be organized? Should we go for a center of excellence model or should we go for something more diffuse? How do we set up legal governance and ethical structures so things don't go in ways that we prefer they didn't? We are going to talk about ethics and governance in great detail. It'd be nice if we didn't have to talk about this as executive leaders, but I'm afraid we do. It's on us to get all of this right. We'll talk about artificial general intelligence, the effect on jobs, biases in AI, privacy in AI, accountability and bad actors in AI, human development in AI, governance in AI. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about strategy, how you get your AI strategy right. And I heard something nonsensical by some guru talking about artificial intelligence. You want to first deploy it where it has the biggest effect on the business. And if you don't think too carefully about that, that can be, you can just take that without thinking too critically about it. But that can be incredibly risky to go for a big bang implementation approach when you're first dipping your toe in the AI water. And I strongly recommend an experimentation approach, a quick wins approach. We do things quick, fail fast, break things, and learn swiftly before we start betting the farm on whether we can get artificial intelligence right. We want to consider whether we want to do an agile approach or a center of excellence model. We want to consider whether we build it or buy it. Obviously, building it takes much longer and it has its own troubles, but buying it means you will never develop the capabilities that you're going to need to have in-house. And so these are some of the strategy questions that we'll begin to ask as leaders. Then we're going to see about whether we need to get the culture right. What are the dimensions of an AI culture? We want a data-centric culture. In God we trust, all of those. Please bring data. We're going to look at the shapes of different learning curves. Do you have a culture that's used to experimentation? How do you treat failure in your organization? We're also going to talk about your culture of innovation. And then finally, a little bit about me. I was a partner at IBM, their global thought leader on business culture and leadership. I've been a professor of business ethics at the University of Denver. I have a 30-year career in management consulting. Before that, I hinted at that I had been in the derivatives market for a very long time in the 1980s. I'm a scientist and a mathematician by training, even though I work in the human side of organization, the quote-unquote soft side now. I certainly started as a scientist and a mathematician, and I'm a serial author. I won't bore you with which books I've written, but there are half a dozen out there that you can look at. So thank you very much for listening. I look forward to talking further with you.